All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today we're looking at a deeply profound text written by Xu Feng back in 2011, simply titled, How to Liberate Yourself from Life and Death. We're going to unpack some incredibly mind-bending concepts about existence, structure, and human consciousness. But to truly understand the secret of life and death, we actually have to start with a very mysterious ancient gathering.
Picture this as a cold open. You're standing at the Lingshan Mountain Assembly. There are thousands of people gathered, all waiting for a profound teaching. But Buddha Sakyamuni doesn't say a single word. Instead, he just holds up a single flower, and he smiles. Out of everyone in that massive crowd, only his first disciple, Mahakasyapa, actually understands the silent gesture. He gets it, and he gives a faint smile back. That silent connection, that's the spark of everything we're talking about today.
Right after that silent exchange, Buddha drops a really fascinating decree. He declares that this ultimate truth, what he calls the marvelous mind of nirvana, literally cannot be captured by language. It's a subtle dharma gate that specifically does not rest on words or letters. It has to be passed directly from mind to mind, entirely outside of any written scriptures.
Now look at this lineage timeline. It actually tracks the exact transmission of this wordless secret across generations. From that first silent smile, the understanding was passed directly to Mahakasyapa, then Ananda, and down the line through ancient India. By generation 28, Bodhidharma brings the robe, the bowl, and this true Dharma eye over to China. The secret gets passed down through figures like Quake, Senkan, and Daosen, right up to the fifth patriarch Hong Ren. And that is where we hit a massive succession crisis.
Here's what happened. When it was time for Master Hong Ren to pass the baton, he realized something pretty shocking. The true successor wasn't his famous, universally admired professor Master Shangshu. Nope. It was actually an unknown, quiet handyman named Huineng, who was just working out in the monastery's backyard. Now, Hong Ren knew if he just handed the ultimate teaching over to a handyman, the whole monastery would be in a total uproar.
To prevent a riot, Hong Ren came up with a really clever trick. He told his followers that the lives and deaths of mortals are a huge deal, and asked both the professor and the handyman to write his stanza for him. Basically, whoever could prove in writing that they truly understood the essence of mind would receive the robe. It was a brilliant little move that allowed him to identify the true master and secretly pass the lineage to Huineng.
So, Master Huineng becomes the sixth patriarch of Zen. But here's the twist. He was also the final one. The true Dharma eye, along with the robe and bowl, was lost after him. This actually prompts the author of our source text, Xu Feng, to make a little joke. He quips that with his 5 heavily weighted articles on Zen, he considers himself the 7th patriarch. But this joke brings up a massive logical problem. Think about the self-aware paradox here. Buddha explicitly stated that the true Dharma has to be passed mind to mind with 0 scriptures or words. So how on earth can Xu Feng write an article explaining it to us? If he uses words, he's literally rebelling against Buddha's original teachings. But if he doesn't use words, how are any of us supposed to know how to liberate ourselves from this endless cycle of life and death?
The author actually breaks the fourth wall here. He admits he's caught in a bind. So to make the best of both worlds, he does what he calls sliding over the water. He's going to use words anyway, just hoping that your personal destiny, your level of praising the Tao, and your own root of wisdom will be enough to help you read between the lines and cross over into understanding.
Moving on to Section 1, the illusion of death, beyond time and age. Once you accept this sliding over the water approach, you hit the core, mind-bending reality of the author's message. What we call life has absolutely nothing to do with time or age. According to the text, life and death as we see it is purely an illusion. The true nature of life is a non-material structure. It works like this. Consciousness originates from structure, but then it turns right around and controls that structure. Human consciousness makes people. Animal consciousness makes animals. And if you develop the consciousness of a Buddha, you become a Buddha. You literally dictate your own form. And this brilliantly illustrates reincarnation, but dimensionally. Death is not an ending. Actually, scratch that. It's not a final ending at all. It's simply the act of walking through a doorway, the gate of life and death, from one field into another. When a life crosses that gate, those of us standing in this field look at it and call it death. But from the perspective of the other field they just walked into, they see it as birth. It's just life traveling from one dimension to another. This perfectly mirrors the ancient sutras quoted in the text, which teach that all dharmas are marked with emptiness. In this ultimate emptiness, there are no physical senses, no eyes, ears, or bodies. There's no ignorance, no decay, no suffering.
Grasping this non-attainment is exactly what allows a consciousness to be totally free from life and death, resulting in the ultimate attainment of nirvana. So, if the truth is really that simple, why don't we all just accept it? Well, the text points out a very practical, biological problem. As mortals, we have what it calls fleshy eyes. We literally lack the physical hardware to see these higher dimensional spaces and worlds. Because we can only see our immediate physical reality, we naturally remain super suspicious and totally unconvinced of this cosmic truth.
Which leads us to Section 2, the 5 hindrances, a practical guide. To conquer this natural skepticism, we can't just rely on our physical eyes. The text hands us a practical guide to systematically defeat 5 specific mental roadblocks, trapping us in the cycle of life and death. The very first hindrance you must defeat? Greed. This challenges you to reflect on how often your daily actions are driven purely by a selfish desire to accumulate. It's that endless, self-interested want to possess more, which ties your consciousness completely to the material world.
Next up is anger, and the text defines this not just as explosive rage, but as the quiet, creeping habits of detesting others, laying blame, and harboring envy. It's a destructive frequency that traps your consciousness in a heavy cycle of bitterness, blocking you from seeing the true reality.
Then we have ignorance. And I absolutely love how this is framed. It isn't just about lacking facts or being uneducated. It's the stubborn, all too common belief that you are always right and never wrong. That rigid refusal to admit your own flaws is a massive barrier to elevating your consciousness.
Arrogance follows right on its heels. This is your self-importance and pretentiousness. It's looking down on everything with disdain. But more importantly, the text defines arrogance as the absolute lack of a gracious, cherishing heart. Without gratitude, you remain entirely locked inside your own ego. Finally, we reach suspicion. This is the ultimate trap that keeps you in the illusion of death. By being overly full of doubts and refusing to face the cosmic facts, you become hypocritical and self-deceiving. You're basically letting your fleshy eyes completely overrule your root of wisdom.
Overcoming these 5 hindrances, greed, anger, ignorance, arrogance, and suspicion, is the exact key to unlocking the true Dharma I and liberating yourself. As the author notes, the concept is incredibly simple and straightforward to explain, but putting it into real practice amidst the messy, frustrating reality of our daily lives, that is incredibly tough.
And that brings us to Section 3, Beyond the Final Gate, the ultimate consequence.
But let's say you do it. Let's say you conquer the hindrances and elevate your consciousness. The text ends with a very stark warning about the ultimate consequence of this ancient teaching. Even after grasping this concept of dimensional travel, you still have to carefully curate your consciousness right now. Because when you cross through that gate of life and death, your consciousness will dictate the structure of your next reality. If your destination is a lower world, built by a consciousness still clinging to those 5 hindrances, you are going to be absolutely miserable. So, I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought to take away from our explainer today. If your consciousness is the architect of your reality, and you finally manage to step through that gateway and leave this physical illusion behind, what kind of world will your consciousness create on the other side? It's entirely up to you. Thanks for joining me to explore this text, and keep questioning the structure of your reality